в по-нататъчен напредък, да изчисти се от всички замърсявания и ще достигне съвършенство след много раждания за практикуване на йога. Пояснение учил Прабхупада. Личност, която е родена в благочестиво, аристократично или свято семейство, осъзнава, че това положение е благоприятно за практикуване на йога техника. Затова тя с решителност се захваща с незавършената си задача и по този начин напълно се пречиства от всички материални замърсявания. Накрая, когато се освободи от всички замърсявания, тя постига върховното съвършенство – Кришна съзнание. Кришна съзнание е съвършеното ниво на освобождение от всички замърсявания. Това се потвърждава в Бхагавад-гита, 7 глава, 28 текст. Нишантананта гатанта пам, странанам пунякарминам, Бхагаванта моха нирмуктар, баджанти ман врида врата. След много раждания, през които е изпълнявал благочестиви дейности, когато е напълно освободен от всички замърсявания и от всички двойственици на илюзията, човек се заема с трансцендентално любовно служение на Господ.
Payatnat yattamanastu yogi samsudha kilvishaha aneka janma samsidhas tatu jati param gatim. And when the yogi engages himself with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contaminations, then ultimately achieving perfection after many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal.
Един йоги постига върховната цел, когато с искрено усилие се ангажира в по-нататъчен напредък, да изчисти се от всички замърсявания и постигне съвършенство след много раждания за практикуване на йога.
So those who are eligible to be elevated to the transcendental position,
тези, които са достойни да се дигнат до трансценденталното положение,
they are mentioned in this verse of the seventh chapter. Srila Prabhupada quotes in the Prabhupada. And those who have acted piously in previous life and in this life, and who became free from sinful reactions, and also from the dualities of delusion, they engage themselves in Krishna's service with determination. And that is also confirmed in the 18th chapter. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Na Sochati Na Kanchati. Same thing. When one is situated on the transcendental platform, then Prasanatma, one becomes very blissful, happy. Srila Prabhupada used to say, if a devotee feels morose, then this is Maya. The devotee must feel blissful. If we do not feel blissful, then there's something wrong. So na sochati na kanchati, such a person who is situated on a transcendental position, and he's free, he becomes free from the dualities of desiring, hankering for something. And lamenting over something he might have lost. Now even great sages are not necessarily free from that duality. We shall hear now one of these typical stories, quarrels between Vasishta Muni and Vishvamitra Muni. They are not free from these dualities of material existence, although they are very elevated. They are very powerful sages. They certainly have realization of Brahman realization. They possess mystic powers, everything.
притежават мистични сили и всичко останало.
But they're not situated in devotional service.
Те не са установени в преданото служение.
Therefore it is mentioned, yes, somebody might be situated on a transcendental platform, but then, mad bhaktim labate param, then he must take up the devotional service.
И се казва, че човек може да е установен на трансцендентална платформа, но тогава той трябва да се заеме с предано служение.
Otherwise he will again come to fall.
Иначе той отново ще падне.
Because material nature is so strong.
Защото материалната природа е много силна.
Mad bhakti prabhavena sarvandriya vijaya puvika svatma drishti shulabhiti bhava. Only by the process of bhakti, devotional service, is it possible to bring our senses fully under control.
Единствено чрез процеса на преданото служение човек може напълно да овладее ситуацията.
So now here we can see that Vishvamitra Muni, he is not free from anger.
Тук може да открием тази история, виждам, че Вишвамитра Муни не е освободен от гнева.
And Vasishta Muni, he is not free from lamentation.
Васишта Муни, той не е освободен от скръпта.
This we shall hear now.
И сега ще чуем за това.
Once upon a time,
Едно време
there was a king
имал цар.
named Kalmasapada.
Представил Калмасапада.
And he belonged to the dynasty of Ikshvaku.
Той принадлежал на династията на Икшваку.
And his prowess, his strength was unique.
И неговото могъщество било ненавидимо.
Once he left his city and went out to the forest for hunting.
Един ден той излезе от града и отишъл в гората на лов.
Now the king, invincible in battle, began to suffer from hunger and thirst.
И този цар, който никой не може да победи в бой, започна да страда от глад и жажда.
Then it happened so that he came to a very narrow pathway,
Той стигна до една много тясна пътечка,
wide enough for just for a single person to how to say, to pass through.
и по нея можел да мине само един човек.
So the king, he came face to face with a spiritually advanced sage.
И пред царя застанал една духовно издигната личност,
Who was the exalted son of Vasishta Muni.
който бил издигнатия син на Васишта Муни.
His name was Shakti.
Името му било Шакти.
Now Vasishta Muni, he had 100 sons, and this Shakti, he was the eldest one.
Васишта Муни имал 100 сина и този Шакти бил най-възрастният му син.
So the king, agitated by hunger and thirst, he screamed at the sage, "Get out of my way!"
Тъй като царят бил безпокоен от глад и жажда, той извикал на това момче: "Махни се от пътя ми."
So the sage tried to pacify the king
Мъдрецът се опитал да успокои царя
and informed him in gentle tones that it was rather the monarch's duty to let the sage go by. What do you say in your own words?
и му казал, че монархът би трябвало да остави мъдрецът пред да мине.
So the sage, he stood by his rights and stayed on the path. He did not go out of the way.
И мъдрецът не се помръдна от пътя, тъй като държал на правото си.
Nor would the king move out of respect for the sage.
Нито пък царят се помръднал от уважение към мъдреца.
Rather, the king angrily charged forward, and as the sage suddenly gave away, the powerful king, bewildered and like a rakshasa in his rage, struck the holy man with his whip. Yeah, I mean the king, he charged forward to attack the sage. The sage, he get out of the way, but the king struck him with his whip. Then the powerful sage also gave in to anger. And in senseless fury, the son of Vasishta cursed the exalted king. You outcast king! Like a rakshasa, you dare to strike an ascetic. Therefore I declare that from this day on you shall become a man-eater.
И затова от този ден нататък аз те поклонявам да се превърнеш в човекояд.
Greedy for human flesh, you will roam this earth.
Жаден за човешка плът, ти ще се скиташ по земната повърхност.
Now go, you lowest of kings.
И сега тръгвай най-ниш от царете.
Thus the powerful Shakti cursed the king.
И така могъщия Шакти проклонал царя.
Vishvamitra and Vashishta had been fighting over the king for a long time.
Вишвамитра и Васишта си били карали дълго време.
Because the king, he was a rich patron of sacrifices.
Защото царят бил могъщ предводител на жертвоприношение.
You see, both, they always wanted to somehow gain the favor of the king.
Те двамата се карали дълго, защото искали да спечелят благосклонността на царя.
So it happened so that Vishvamitra Muni, he followed the king.
Така се случило, че Вишвамитра Муни последвал царя.
Thus, when the king and Shakti were crawling on the narrow road, the mighty Vishvamitra came close to them.
И докато се карали Шакти и царят, докато се карали на тази тясна пътечка, Вишвамитра Муни се приближил до тях.
And from behind Vishvamitra Muni, he recognized that this Shakti, he was the son of Vashishta.
И Вишвамитра Муни разбрал, че Шакти е сина на Васишта.
Eager to gain something for himself, Vishvamitra made himself invisible.
Тъй като искал да извлече полза за себе си, Вишвамитра Муни се направил невидим.
And now he came close to both of them.
И се приближил към двамата.
When the learned king was cursed by Shakti,
когато ученият цар бил проклонат от Шакти,
all of a sudden he came to his senses.
той изведнъж се вразумил.
He begged Shakti for mercy.
Той помолил Шакти за милост.
Knowing well the king's mind and condition, Vishvamitra waited until the king had returned to his city.
Знаейки добре състоянието на ума, which mind and condition? Whose mind and condition?
Vishvamitra Muni, he knew the condition and the mind of the king. You know, he was cursed, very disturbed. So he followed him back to the city.
Знаейки добре състоянието на царя в момента, Вишвамитра Муни последвал царя до града.
And then Vishvamitra Muni, by his own strength, he ordered one Rakshasa to enter into the body of the king.
И Вишвамитра Муни, благодарение на могъществото, което притежавал, заповядал на един ракшаса да влезе в тялото на царя.
By the sage's curse and by the order of Vishvamitra, the Rakshasa was able to enter the king.
Поради проклятието на мъдреца и също така заповедта на Вишвамитра, тази ракшаса успял да влезе в тялото на царя.
Now, once Vishvamitra knew that the king was possessed by Rakshasa, he left that country peacefully.
И вече като знаем, че един ракшаса се намира в тялото на царя, Вишвамитра не напуснал местността.
Thereafter, the learned king was severely harassed by the Rakshasa.
И след като царят бил много обезпокояван от този ракшаса,
but somehow the king was able to protect himself by his own strength.
Но бил способен да се защитава благодарение на могъществото, което притежава.
Then when the king had again gone out of the city, a certain man of the twice-born community, he spoke to the monarch.
Един път, когато царят отново излезе от града, човек, който принадлежал към обществото на два пъти родените, се обърнал към царя и му каза.
Now he was very, very hungry.
Той бил много гладен.
And requested strangely the king for a meal mixed with meat. Something to eat.
И помолил царя за ястие, в което да има и месо.
The wise king, he became a little bewildered. But he pacified the twice-born man by saying, "Sit down here for a moment, O Brahmana, and I will return home and deliver the food you request."
Той успокоил този брамана, като му казва да изчака малко, той ще се върне в къщи и ще заповяда да му занесат ястието, което е поискал.
But when the king returned home to his palace, he forgot about the request of the Brahmana.
Но когато царят се върна на дворец си, поради някаква причина той забравил за молбата на този браман.
And then he retired for the night.
И след това отишъл да се почине за през нощта.
But at midnight he woke up and he remembered the request of the Brahmana.
Но полунощ се събудил и си спомнил за молбата на този браман.
And he quickly sent for a cook,
И бързо повикал готвач,
to whom he explained the situation, and he gave the following instruction.
Той обяснил какво е положението на този готвач и му дал следното наставление.
Anyway, he explained everything to him.
Той му обяснил всичко.
So then the cook, he searched, but he could not find any meat.
Готвачът започна се разтърсил, но не успял да открие никакво месо.
Filled with anxiety, he reported to the king that meat was not to be found.
Много разтревожен, той казал на царя, че не може да открие месо.
Then the Rakshasa within the king finally exerted his influence.
И в крайна сметка този ракшаса, който се намира в тялото на царя, проявил могъществото си.
And the king, without the least concern, said to the cook,
И царят без изобщо да се двуми казал на готвача.
then feed him human meat.
Дайте му човешко месо.
And repeated his instruction again and again.
И отново повтарял инструкцията си.
So be it, said the cook. So be it, said the cook. Okay, all right. Dobre, he said.
Добре казал готвач.
Inspired by the king's order, not really inspired, but emboldened. He became convinced, okay, I have to do it. He stole some flesh from an executed criminal.
И въодушевен, и по-скоро не точно въодушевен, но много решителен решен твърдо да действа следствие от инструкцията, която получил от царя. Този готвач изпратил месото на един престъпник, който бил убит.
So he mixed it with rice and presented it to the hungry ascetic Brahmana.
Той го смесил с вода и си го дал на гладния браман аскет.
But the learned twice-born man looked at the food with his experienced eye.
Мъдрият, два пъти роден, погледнал с опитното си око храната.
And he remarked, this food is unfit to eat.
Разбрал, че тази храна не е годна за ядене.
And he stared with a face that quivered with rage.
И след това погледнал, като лицето му било изкривено от яд от гняв.
Because that king gives me such nasty food which is not fit to eat.
Тъй като този цар ми праща такава отвратителна храна, която изобщо не е годна за ядене.
A strange appetite will arise in that foolish man. A strange appetite will arise in that foolish man.
Този глупав човек ще се появи странен апетит.
As stated before by Shakti, he will lust after human flesh.
Както по-рано било предречено от Шакти, той ще е жаден за човешка плът.
And he will wander all over the earth, feared and shunned by all creatures.
И той ще обикаля из цялата земя, обладан от най-различни духове.
Now when the curse was thus uttered twice, it grew very, very strong.
И по този начин, след като два пъти било повторено, това проклятие, вече има много голяма сила.
The Rakshasa's strength now took completely hold of the king, and he lost his senses. So he immediately searched for Shakti. Now this was the whole plan of Vishvamitra Muni. He found Shakti, and he said to him, because you punished me with an undue curse, now because of you I must begin to eat human flesh. Speaking thus, he started laughing. And suddenly he seized the sage. And he tore out his life. And he devoured him, just as a tiger consumes his desired prey.
И той го погълна по същия начин, по който тигърът поглъща жертвата си.
So Vishwamitra Muni, he was very, very satisfied. Because one, the eldest king of Vashishta Muni was killed. Vishwamitra again ordered the Rakshasa within the king's body this time sending him to the other sons of Vashishta. The king then approached the 100 sons, younger sons, and furiously devoured them all. Just like a lion consumes small and weak deer. Hearing that his sons had been murdered by Vishwamitra's plot, Vashishta, he could not hold his grief any longer. The brilliant sage then made up his mind to take his own life. And the holy sage, he did not even consider destroying the family of Vishwamitra. Oh, then we shall go back. Anyway, the sage, he could not bear his grief any longer, and he decided to commit suicide. You told us. So what was the next sentence then? Yes, but the sage, he was so, he did not even consider to destroy the family of Vishwamitra Muni. He didn't have these, he did not think of revenge. Then the exalted sage, he threw himself from the high peak of Mount Meru, falling headfirst onto the stone ground below. But when he fell onto the stone, it received him like a pile of soft cotton. When he did not die from his fall, he ignited a fire in the deep forest. And then the sage, he entered into it, within it. But the blazing fire did not burn him, for as soon as he entered the fire, the scorching flames became cool and refreshing, just like a shower. Overcome by grief and frustration, he went to the ocean. Binding a heavy stone about his neck, he fell into the sea. But the powerful ocean waves brought the sage back to the shore. Frustrated at his failure to take his own life, he went back to his hermitage. So now, then, what will happen afterwards, we shall hear tomorrow morning. So, we shall stop here. We have some more minutes, perhaps there are some questions about something. Is there any question about anything? Or about something? Yeah.
In previous lecture, you mentioned about the destructive force of karma. One of the destructive forces. If we can tell something more than this.
Oh, that's not difficult to understand. There are so many things are being destroyed simply because of karma. Our lifespan depends on our karma, how long we live. Actually, it is said that when we take birth, there are, I forgot how many, 5 or something. 5 things are being determined. Our lifespan, our wealth, our education, and 2 more, I forgot. So everything is determined. So I might work very, very hard to become rich. And maybe I become rich. But my karma might take everything away. This is happening all the time. Karma is taking away so many things, destroying so many things. So it certainly has a destructive potency, karma. It takes away life, it destroys wealth, it destroys so many things. It destroys families. Actually, you will be amazed how many things or how our karma influences our life constantly. Because according to my karma, I am capable or able to enjoy or not. The karma is acting in a very strange way sometimes. Also all these family troubles and family affairs. So many things are influenced by our karma. Just like in the Mahabharata, there are also many stories. There's one story of a exalted sage. So now he married a very, very beautiful lady. And he was so attached to her. But then his karma was somehow to suffer. So everything was perfectly arranged. The marriage, everybody was happy, his wife was chaste, beautiful, it was just like heaven. So after a few days after his marriage, he was full of hopes, expectations for the future. His wife went outside to milk a cow. She was bitten by a snake and died. So that was his karma. You see, karma destroys so many things. Anyway, that's a whole different story. Interesting story. Then he started cursing snakes and so many things connected to it. So then he was so furious, so angry. Whenever he saw a snake, he immediately cut it into 1,000,000 pieces. So then once he saw a great lizard,
Един път той видя един голям бистър
and he wanted to kill him immediately.
и искал веднага да го убие.
But then, all of a sudden, to his amazement, the lizard, he spoke to him.
И за негово очудване, изведнъж бустърът му проговори.
Why you want to kill me?
Но защо искаш да ме убиеш?
I'm not a snake.
Аз не съм змия.
Of course, I belong to the category of reptiles, but I'm not a snake.
Аз падам към земноводните, към лечугите, но не съм змия.
Excuse me, sir, but I'm not a snake. Lizards are not violent.
Прощайте, господине, аз не съм змия и бустърите не причиняват насилие.
Who are you, said the sage? How come that you can speak? And then he explained his former life. And then he anyway, so tomorrow. Because we have 7 o'clock. And we have to stop here and perform our Sundar Arti. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.